For November the 20th, 2020, we talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Superliminal, and we ask you about your favorite gaming-related holiday gifts. Welcome to Level 350. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm David Smith.
I'm Jala Prendes.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Episode 350, y'all.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's a lot of episodes.
We're exactly halfway through.
Yep. You heard it here first.
I make that joke whenever we cross a milestone, and I always expect eventually we're going to get to the point where somebody says, wait a minute, are you coming up on your last episode?
Well, it's one of those things where it's like the older you are, the longer your life expectancy is.
Right.
You know?
So there's no reason we couldn't hit 1,000. Yeah. And then no more. Yeah. Thank you very much for popping in. Welcome back, David. Yeah. Yo. What you been up to, buddy?
I don't know. I got nothing.
No.
No. Working on a spear kata.
Okay.
Cool. So trying to create a spear kata. So researching all of the different ways human beings have developed to kill each other with pointy sticks. So that's been fun. It's actually been interesting. Stumbled upon like essays basically on like peasant uprisings in the early Chinese Republic era.
Okay.
And it was really interesting just seeing like the commanders be like, all right, so what we've learned from this is that just oppressing people just makes them angrier, and the most effective thing to do is to actually address all of the horrible human rights abuse that they're pissed off about.
And we figured that out, and we never had problems with it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh. You know, it's funny how many times we have to realize that, the harder you press down, the harder people press back up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But at least it's a sweet mechanic in Crusader Kings, right?
True. It is a good mechanic, that. Yeah.
I still think I don't know why I'm doing this tangent, but I don't care. I still think my favorite Crusader Kings mechanic is that you can just do a gambit of like purposely losing your kingdom and then just challenging the new king to a duel. Like, just get conquered by a much more well-run kingdom, but whose leader isn't necessarily good at one-on-one combat.
Mm-hmm. Yoink. That's all mine now.
Spec duelist, yeah.
Oh man, how about you, Ben? What you up to?
I had my birthday over the weekend, which was fun. So I used my virtual Halloween party as a template to do my virtual birthday party, but that was fun. Got to see a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while, so that was nice. And it was all quarantine friendly, so that's good too.
Yeah. I got to pop in and play some Among Us with you and Perk and somebody who I had met but I did not remember meeting.
All right. Got any other clues besides that? I might be able to figure it out.
No.
All right.
Well, one of the Cincinnati people there. No.
Okay.
But it was nice. It was my first exposure to Among Us.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I hope it's not my last because that's a fun game.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. Or a few minutes.
We will. Yes. Jala, how about you? What's going on?
So, I've been dealing with a bunch of like family stuff, people being sick and things like that. So unfortunately I was unable to go to Ben's virtual party. By the time I popped in, everybody was like in the middle of a very rowdy round of Among Us and probably sloshed. And I was like, okay, well, it's been a day. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, unrelated to that, Listeners may or may not remember my prior mentions of accidental cosplay, but I have over the years completely unintentionally dressed up like a character from something.
Mm-hmm.
I have in the past rolled up to a con dressed basically as Lara Croft, but apparently my most recent dance outfit for the rehearsal I was doing over this weekend looked like Emma Frost. So I have a short blonde wig and blue contacts, so I can totally make that happen actually, and actually do pole like that. Because basically the outfit has like white it was an all white outfit, white boots, white thigh highs, white gloves, and I had a choker on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically the only thing I was missing was the blonde hair.
Yeah.
So, that's a thing. I can actually do that thing. So I've considered, like, once I have a pole in my house, possibly doing like lazy cosplays or like, pole versions of a cosplay outfit, and just doing some pole stuff. Cause like it takes, for a lazy cosplay, it doesn't take that much more time than it takes me to get ready for like any other kind of a rehearsal type thing. So I might be doing that at some point or other. Not promising, but that might be a thing. Because like once I have a pole in my house, it's just a few feet from the bathroom to the pole, so it's not like I have to go outside or go across town to a studio and get all dressed up. Like it's right there.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that's all the excitement I've got going.
Fly out to Genosha. Hope for the Sentinels to obliterate it. And then in the rubble, you will find out if you have a secondary mutation that turns you into Diamond.
Yay!
That is the one run of X-Men that I have read.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool.
It was actually a listener who pointed that out. It was Holland Ho-chan. So
nice.
Anyway.
Very cool. Yeah.
You've got a birthday coming up, Cole. That's
I do
cool.
have a birthday coming up. I don't really have any like plans for it. It's on a Friday, so I'll be streaming that night, and that'll be fun. Yeah, my plan will be streaming. I never. It's funny, but I lived away from my family for so long, and my birthday is so close to Thanksgiving that I never really did anything on my birthday. I just always celebrated it with them, and so like. I fell out of the habit of ever celebrating anything on my birthday itself. It's just not really a thing for me. So I never make plans. So I realize I'm making it sound sadder than it actually is.
Didn't we play like Rock Band and drink Smirnoffs one year on your birthday in college?
Yeah,
yes,
that was 10...
one of us drank Smirnoffs.
Yeah,
I use weed loosely there, but
no,
not
that was
necessarily by choice.
No, that was actually 10 years ago. We're coming up on 10 years to the day from that fateful day when all of when you Ben, David and Dennis came over and we played Rock Band, and that was the year that Bros Icing Bros was a thing. And also one of you brought over peppermint schnapps, which we mixed with like hot chocolate or something. It was vile, actually. So,
the peppermint one? Oh, I didn't remember it being bad. Oh well.
It
was rough stuff. So,
I still do not understand how like peppermint schnapps is a thing.
Oh, it just I don't know. You go talk to Cincinnati and all those German people who live there. They've got a De Kuipers plant there, which if you drive up and down 75 and you roll your windows down, you can smell. So it smells like a candy factory. But yeah, that was a time. That's some of the sickest I've ever been. I had to go to work after that, like at 6 a.m. at the radio station, and I would be on the air briefly for a top of the hour, like introducing the next show, the next reading that would come in. And then I would turn off the microphone. I would wave, hey, go ahead, start reading to the talent in the booth. And then I would get up, calmly walk outside the studio. Walk outside of the control room. When it was clear, I would dash around to the other side of the building to get to the restroom to deal with the fact that I was incredibly sick from all of the alcohol that we drank. So, fun memories, and also.
So, that's not why you stopped celebrating your birthday, right? Just
no,
want to make sure that, all right.
No, it's not that way.
All right.
That's one of those things where you think like, oh boy, that was definitely a thing. And also, I am so happy that I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
God. But yeah, I've got my birthday coming up. I mean, mostly everything. Like, I've just been really busy with work. We've got like a back end change thing that's coming to the way we distribute some shows, which is fun. Ooh, my brother Chris, he got me a. We were looking for an outdoor activity to do, so we got air rifles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like pellet guns, like that people usually, shoot squirrels or rabbits with. It's like a 22, like an actual legit thing with like a scope or whatever. In the past, we have liked target shooting, but fuck spending that money on ammo nowadays, because it's all really expensive and hard to get a hold of. But when you have an air rifle, you can just go to my brother's barn and do target shooting indoors. And we just had a lot of fun, doing that for a few hours on Sunday. It was outdoors, it was distance, we were just talking and having fun shooting at some targets in a little, target box that he made. So
cool. Those things can be crazy accurate.
I was a little bit shocked at how consistent I was able to hit stuff, because I'm used to like BB guns. The Red Ryder, from Christmas Story, like the really inaccurate, you'd be lucky to hit a, to hit a 2-liter bottle from 20 feet away. BB guns from when I was a kid. This is like an actual ass thing.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah, that was my birthday and Christmas gift, and it's a fun activity to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I want to talk about games. So I think we can go and do the regular kind of show that we usually do, such as, with things such as the grind, the multiplayer, and the unboss. And why don't we get started with the grind? The grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. David, you're up. What you been playing?
Sure. So what I've been playing, I think I talked briefly about Watch Dogs Legion last time, right?
I think we talked. No, I don't believe that we have. If you did, it was very, very briefly.
Sure. So I've been I played some of Watch Dogs Legions. It's bad.
All right.
Okay.
Next game.
Cool. All right.
So
how bad?
Yeah. So
bad. How?
I don't know. When I played it, it was like I actually had one. Like my first playthrough, I made it through like the first mission, and then got into like a game-breaking bug, a progression blocking bug. Second one, I haven't had that, but it's still like basically the thing I have is whenever I want to like exit, I have to exit and then leave it like sitting, thinking about exiting for like 10 to 15 minutes before it finally does.
Oh.
And if you don't do that, as far as I can tell, it like never auto saves.
That seems like a problem.
Yeah. So like that's the only time it saves. So that's kind of frustrating. Other than that, honestly, it just doesn't work much as a game. Like
okay, so this is the one that is primarily it's like it's online primarily, right? It's like
well, so it's not. I mean, it is online in that, we live in the darkest timeline where even single player games must be always online.
Right.
But no, more its thing is just you don't have a main character. They just have kind of a Skyrim style, like, generated city where all of the characters are following various, daily habits. And you can find, pick out any character, kind of hack their phone and, see what their stats and abilities and background are. And then if you're interested in having them on your team, basically figuring out something they need, which could be anything from like oh, they have a loved one who's are being denied, healthcare, and so you go and like hack them to the front of the line for healthcare,
Okay.
or like, hey, they have a rival that they really hate, so you can go and like dox them.
Cool.
Yeah. You are very much a quality human being. And yeah, so and basically can ultimately convince them to join your team, and they all have procedurally generated looks and abilities and things like that.
Okay.
So that's actually has some kind of some cool elements. My main person I've been playing on is actually one of the was originally one of the like bad guy kind of fascist cop faction
Okay.
that also moonlighted as like a crazy vigilante dude that would just go out and like fist fight drug dealers and stuff.
Okay.
So I mean, there's interesting things. I feel like the problem with it is, one, just without a single main character, the narrative is not not strong enough to really motivate things. And then also, it doesn't quite have any sort of hook with like loot or anything like that just can kind of it's kind of like when you don't have a really strong plot, you need some sort of kind of meta motivation or whatever.
Well, yeah, you need a goal to work toward, and it sounds like you have like you're describing building a team and doing a bunch of different mission types to build a bigger team. Like, are you trying to like outfit a hacker den? Like what's the goal of the game?
So as far as I can tell, there are primary missions, but it seems like the core of it is kind of a like what would be kind of like a district retaking type mechanic. So like you go to and do a certain number of missions in a district to like disrupt the bad guys and inspire the people to rise up and support you.
Okay.
And then the bad guys get kind of kicked out of that district, and that's as far as I can tell so far.
Yeah, so it sounds like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it just seems it's kind of like those games if you went full open world but without any of the RPG elements to back it up.
So how do the other people factor into this?
Yeah, so one of the neat elements is it is constantly tracking everything you do. So for example, like if you like take out kill a guard, even if they deserve it, even if they're like one of the bad guys and you need that to save someone, then like all of the that guard's family and friends will now hate you.
Okay.
And it can go anywhere from just being like, hey, they're kind of pissed off and they're now going to be difficult to recruit, to like, I've never had this happen, but apparently you can like log into the game and just have it be like, oh, they kidnapped your this person and are holding them hostage, and if you want them back, you have to go rescue them.
Okay.
So wait, does this mean you can kill everyone in the game?
Yep.
Really?
What? You can make a ghost town?
Well, I guess I don't know if it spawns new people. I do know. So I do know that like it definitely tracks people. You can actually like if you're interested in recruiting someone, you can pull up a listing of like what their daily schedule is.
Okay.
And it's anything from like going to work to like oh, this person goes and like helps out with the homeless, or goes and visits their family at this time every day, that sort of thing. So they definitely have a habit.
Okay.
There's currently a Polygon article where the person who wrote it apparently tried playing the game like GTA, just like, randomly driving down sidewalks and stuff. And now virtually everyone hates him. And like, as he's walking down the streets, it's just constantly people like getting into fist fights with him and stuff.
Well, of course, he's a menace. He must be stopped.
This actually sounds fun. I was not expecting this from this review of the game.
This does sound fun.
I'm interested to see where it goes. It's a game I'm hoping is going to end up good. It definitely, I don't think it is a game that would be fun if you played it the right way. I could see it being a game that would be fun if you played it the wrong way.
I mean,
I mean the quote unquote wrong way.
With a lack of actual goals, if this is just a fun sandbox to make hell in, maybe not $60, but like if it ends up on Game Pass, it'd be a fun week.
I mean, you could just buy. Well, one sec. I will use that as a segue in just a sec. The one thing I will say about this game that I do kind of like is when you look up the characters' backgrounds and stuff, they do a very, very good job of just capturing. I don't know, they'll have a lot of things that'll be like weird internet searches they did.
Right.
And a lot of them are just very on point for like really, really bullseyeing, just weird internet subcultures.
Okay.
And anything from just being like, I don't know, like, embarrassing hentai searches. That's like, yeah, there are definitely people that are Rule 34 searching that.
Right.
To like, found one that was like, oh, is a member of a Facebook group that shares historical martial arts videos. It's like, wait a minute, I'm part of a Facebook group that shares historical martial arts videos.
Yeah, what gives? Well, no, not everything has to be embarrassing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's everything from like, has a lot of like the political whatever's, such and such is an anti-vaxxer or, things like that.
Does this ever factor in? Can you use this against them, or is it just there as flavor?
It's pretty much just there as flavor. It definitely determines whether or not I recruit someone, and determines whether or not guards survive me infiltrating their place.
Yeah, well, you don't want an anti-vaxxer on your team. What are you, maniac?
Exactly.
Come on. Sorry, I'm overusing the word maniac again. It's a thing.
It's appropriate. It's very appropriate. But yeah, I don't know. Like, that's really all I have to say. Like, this is a very weird game. It seems like it kind of needs a little bit more time in the oven, honestly.
Well, it's the nice thing about a game as a service. They can just say, hey, it's better now. We fixed it.
Exactly.
Because of all the free testing. Not free, because of all the paid testing.
I see on the website it says year 1, so it seems like they might have plans for this beyond.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. So on the plus side, you can get it for like $15 a month if you play it if you buy whatever Uplay Plus or whatever. They keep changing the name.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's what you want to do when you are a low level player in a crowded space. Just really shift the branding around.
Just like Comcast, they got to rebrand themselves so that people will buy into it again.
Yeah, it's like a Philip Morris thing, though.
Yeah, and luckily they currently have a deal going on where if you pay $15 a month to play Watchdog Legions, they'll also throw in the ability to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Okay.
Which is a much better game I've been playing.
I played the
Oh.
intro to that. I got to like the portion where you have I literally just got my crew back after having been captured and being held as a
you
slave
played
for
through the first intro.
yeah, right. I have not finished the smaller Assassin's Creed game that is at the beginning of this one. I have not made the voyage to England yet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts so far. It's it's definitely it's interesting. It's very much a evolution of the previous Assassins of what was it, Odyssey?
Yeah, Odyssey and
that,
Origins. They did basically it's like a reboot.
Right. Although it's interesting, I don't know if that would have been far enough to see. They've definitely taken a fairly significant turn in that they've dramatically de-emphasized the RPG elements, and in particular, the loot grind is virtually gone.
Okay.
So it's now basically instead of just getting random loot drops, you will basically get like a given armor set drops once, and then you can just upgrade it if that happens to be the one you like.
Okay.
So it's much more, not exactly, but much more of like a Soulsborne type of feel. Where it's more about picking which one you want than it is about picking like, oh, this one has +1 stats.
Yeah, I would prefer that, honestly.
Yeah, overall, I think it's definitely a better way to go with it.
Yeah, it's a strange thing for me because I never played Origins or Odyssey. There's bigger games than I was able to kind of commit to. I was actually surprised at how much Souls there was in it, insofar as it was lock-on combat with strong and weak attacks doing combos and dodge rolls, and you had a shield to to bash people with and block stuff if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. And it does have kind of some similar mechanics in that like that is very much the standard way to do it. But if you want, you can just go full on like, I'm going to equip a heavy weapon and take like 5 minutes to swing at a dude.
Yeah. Hope he's still there when the swing lands. Yeah,
exactly. So did you? What did you go with for the gender of your character?
Female.
Yeah, that's one of I know the weird things they added is apparently the previous game you picked whether you wanted to go male or female, but they're different characters.
Mm-hmm.
And also this time around they added an ability that is like let the computer choose.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know how much you've read about this or looked at it. It's not just like, oh, the computer chooses randomly. It's literally in like one scene you might be a guy, and then the next scene you might be a gal.
I wonder what that adds up to, because that just sounds confusing to me.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. At least I've heard at least some people take the position that like it was a cop out on Ubisoft's thing of like, we don't want to take the stand of canonically making the character male or female, so we're just going to punt.
But they still give you the option, and you can I forget the character's name, but like you can choose to be dude one or lady, dude character or lady character the whole way through. Like it's all voiced. It's all voiced and animated. Yeah.
So yeah, I have no idea. I don't know if there's going to be any payoff of that, because the Assassin's Creed storyline makes no freaking sense whatsoever.
They make a point when you start out as a little kid, and little kid dressed up in furs doesn't necessarily have to be male or female, just for the purpose of the story and the way it's presented. But at a certain moment when it would have been revealed, their hood gets pulled off or whatever, things get all staticky, like the animus glitches out and it says like, oh, we have two streams that are like overwriting each other or something like that, like just where we're getting some interference, pick which lane you want to take, and then we'll go with it. So it implied that like it literally is both. That's like Schrodinger's gender, which is not going to be a title. But it's like that's kind of how it's presented. So like I like given how much they underlined it, it's very difficult to ascertain if that is going to come back in the narrative in some way. Like it turns out these were twins and they were separated, and the other one ends up being, a major character down the line. I like honestly have no idea.
Yeah, I do not know. It's also, compared to the previous one, like this one pulls in some of the supernatural elements very, very quickly.
Right.
It's actually, this is one of those instances where I feel like your character gets a little bit of excessive genre blindness, because like very early on, your Viking character starts hallucinating, seeing like an old man with one eye and a wolf, and they're like, I don't know who it could be.
Isn't he like the main god of your entire culture, dude?
Yeah, it's like, really, guys?
Yes, really.
And so like, yeah, I have no idea where they're going with that. And like, I think they might, from what little I have actually paid attention to Assassin's Creed's plotline, I think they've like go with some sort of like ancient aliens, something or another.
Yeah, the idea is that there's like a precursor race that I don't know if it's alien, but like it was so advanced, and like they left us these artifacts. The like in the main trilogy was the apple of Eden. It was like this just an artifact. It was a golden apple that could impact time and stuff like that. So yeah, Ancient Aliens is close enough, but I have no idea what they did, after they did the reboot and went back further in history than, the Crusades, right? Because like I remember, I mean, like was the Atlantis DLC canon?
I'm not 100% certain, honestly.
Yeah.
I do know you eventually get out of the Animus, and apparently in the modern world, in this point, like Earth's magnetic field is going on the fritz, and so like, the internet has been knocked out of most of America, and like there's 24/7 aurora, and just like the world is slowly ending.
Okay.
So, but
Aurora Borealis at this time of day in this part of the country. It's a Simpsons thing. Don't.
I shake my head at you. But yeah, so I mean, I really don't know. The big thing that bothers me so far is I'm wondering if they're going to come back around and like recognize the fact that your characters are kind of horrible people. Because basically, like the entire plot of why you're in England is your like adopted brother basically his father like finally agrees to make peace with the other like warring factions of Norway.
Okay.
And then like your adopted brother is butthurt because he feels he's entitled to be a king.
All right.
And like that's straight up his motivation. Is like, yeah, we could have peace and no one dies, but then I don't get to be in charge.
But then I don't get what I want. And the thing is, I want what I want.
I want it.
Right.
It's mine.
Yes.
And then like a significant like maybe the primary mechanic of like how you advance your thing is just like finding your village you settle is just like finding Christian settlements and raiding them.
Right. Well, that's
which I mean
that's
historically accurate, except that like historically, the Vikings weren't the good guys. Like,
True.
so, I mean, granted, historically, pretty much everyone was awful in that time, but still, it's like, I don't know, it's just a little, I don't know, if there's ever a game that, like, you were going to talk about, was it neo-ludative dissonance or whatever?
No, ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah. This would be the one for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that or maybe all those times I killed people in Watch Dogs, but either of those.
Well, I mean, specifically, people come after you. Like that's that's not very dissonant.
Good point. Yeah. All right, so this would be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's all I really have to say about that. Throwing axes at dudes is a lot of fun.
I've not thrown.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say, the website claims that there's advanced RPG elements in this game. Is that true at all?
Yeah.
They do definitely have a much more fleshed out skill tree, by which I mean they stole it from Skyrim. So you're now filling out star constellations, and they kind of do the Path of Exile thing where most of them are just like minor upgrades to abilities. Mm-hmm. But then, every so often there'll be one that's, actually upgrades your stat. It like gives you a new ability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then also you can unlock kind of like cooldown abilities. So the only one I've used so far has been the ability to just like throw a ton of axes at people.
Because throwing axes at guys is fun.
Exactly. And makes you look like a badass. So, that's all that really matters. Yeah. So, overall, I'd say pretty good. Your character's still not as cool as Cassandra, but, that's life.
Yeah. I've not done too much more. I mean, obviously I did the intro and like the tutorials and stuff. I wanted it, because I've wanted to play a modern Assassin's Creed game for a while. Makes sense to start with a new one, but also I wanted something to fire up my, a game to see what like an Xbox Series X game looks like, and that seemed like as good of one as any. Is that all you played?
Yes,
okay.
It is.
Yeah, I'll just do mine. I don't have very much. Yeah, the Xbox Series X is neat. So having not had an Xbox One, I don't have like an awful lot of games around to fire up on it. But I did sign up for Game Pass. Wow. I'm really impressed with the amount of stuff that you can just play.
Mm-hmm.
That you can just get, especially if you do the Game Pass Ultimate or whatever they call it, like their big one that lets you do not only console but also on PC. It also gives you access to like EA Play or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
As a meta note, I want to say that as soon as you started talking about Game Pass, Dennis came online.
Just want
to say that.
I like the idea. I really think they should just call it Game Pass, the big one.
The big one. It's the one that like is honestly an absurd value. This sounds like a commercial, but like, I don't know, if I didn't already have a shitload of games to play and I wanted a bunch of games that were really good out of the box, this would be like a way to do it. And that's why I got the Xbox Series X, is to have access to all of that, right? And with the EA Play stuff, like it even goes down, like instead of needing to buy another copy of Dragon Age 2, because I can't find my old copy for some reason, it's just on there available for you, and then you just download it and play it. Like, this isn't a game streaming thing. Like, it's literally just, this is just a free store that you can download stuff and you have access to it as long as you're paying. So it very much is like a Netflix kind of deal. The actual system itself is fine. Like, the user experience is good after doing a little bit of like sorting around and trying to get my gamer tag updated, because again, I didn't the last Microsoft system I had was back in, it was like the 360, right? Like it brought over whatever 360 games were still available to play. And of course, the one Xbox 360 arcade game that I wanted to play, Bionic Commando Rearmed, no, they just took that off the marketplace. So you can't download that and play it on a new system.
No.
So that sucks. Otherwise, though, that is like the bummer part of it. It's pretty. I've got that running on an OLED TV that like supports all of the HDMI 2.1 features or whatever it is. The instant start is really cool. Like even when you switch between games, like it will hold on to the state that a game was in before, and you don't have to go through like the startup again when you start playing an older game that you did. Like it just literally just goes from the pause screen, which is nice. Yeah, it's neat. The actual thing itself is very big. It is about the size of like a small media computer like you would have. It fits in my entertainment system just fine, but I'm keeping it horizontal.
So about half the size of PlayStation 5?
Honestly, like tip to tip,
like
it's
on a logarithmic scale.
tip to tip, it's only slightly smaller than a PlayStation 5 will be. Additionally, because it's a boxy, a PlayStation 5 will sit on its side and be a little bit, it'll be a little bit more low profile because it is taller than it is, it's rectangle shaped, right? Because this is...
Well, that's debatable.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. One dimension is much longer than the others, let's say. Because
that's definitely true.
Because the Xbox Series X, too many X's, fuck. No, because the Series X is fridge shaped, I was a little bit worried that even sitting on its side, it would be too tall for my IKEA Entertainment Center, but it will be fine. But yeah, I'm playing Dragon Age 2 on it for WoW, and old games look fantastic with the upscaling on it, and also with the upscaling that is done like on the TV itself. And as far as I can tell, backward compatibility just works, and there's some Game Pass stuff that I want to poke around on. It's neat.
Cool.
Nice. As a side note, how is Dragon Age 2?
It's as good as I remember it. I like that game. That's an unpopular opinion, but I am a defender of that video game.
Yeah, I've heard just wildly different assessments of that game, from like just very, very positive to it's utter garbage and they should be ashamed.
No, I like it. We'll talk about it on the episode, but I think it's fine. The only other game the only game I've been playing was Among Us, but I assume that'll be a transition from me to you, Ben, probably. I streamed a game called Conarium over the weekend. This is a first-person horror game, like walking sim kind of thing. You're doing some light puzzle solving, but it's mostly just finding the objects so you can proceed. And you're learning the story and kind of seeing things happen. Kind of the hook is it's inspired by H.P. Lovecraft broadly and At the Mountains of Madness specifically, to the point where like you see drawings and statues of elder things down there, but you are kind of the last remaining survivor of this group of people who basically are using the machine from beyond to like cast into the Dreamlands. It's a short game. I don't necessarily know that I recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
I am happy that I streamed it because there was cool stuff that happened in there, but like it's very rough from a signaling point of view. Like if your game is going to be going to hinge on you walking from incident to incident, maybe don't make it so that the thing that you need is hidden to proceed. Yeah, there were a few times where it's like, I've got no idea what I need to do. There's no apparent way forward. And the thing that I needed was like on a dimly lit shelf in a room that otherwise, didn't have anything to do with what I was looking for. So yeah, there were lots of like, I'm just stuck and I need to go to a guide kind of moments.
Mhm.
But otherwise, like as a story, it's fine.
So for the item puzzles in Conarium, do you have to like put the bunny back in the box?
Is that a Con Air reference?
I honestly don't know what the reference is. You said it like a joke, but I don't know what you're talking about.
The Nicolas Cage classic Con Air.
Con Air.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, I didn't know if there was more to it than that.
Just
There
making
doesn't
fun of,
need to be any more to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
just making fun of the stupid name.
Yeah.
Oh, Canary. All right.
Yes.
I'm there.
Right. Good.
Is there any affiliation with this game in Amnesia? I thought you mentioned that at some point on stream, but
No.
okay.
This is made by a Turkish developer.
Okay.
Which I can't say I've played too many games from Turkey. They've made other stuff. Maybe it's good. Like they seem to be kind of in the business of making horror games. Like they've got some earlier ones called Darkness Within, and they've got one from 2020 called Transient. But yeah, who knows? Any questions about Canarium?
Nope.
No. And Among Us, I was in over my head. And I felt mostly like I was dead weight because I did not find bodies or witness murders, and I did not see anything. So like when everybody was doing the parlor scene, kind of at the team meetings, I was like, yeah, I was over here and I didn't see anything, and like gotta vote.
I think one round you went up to the O2 room and I died on admin table. I think
Maybe.
Is that true? I don't know.
I definitely like I was in a greenhouse when you died, I think, or something like that. There are definitely like really tense moments, more tense than like the graphical presentation would have it be, like especially as your initial group starts dropping off like flies, and like suspicion is falling on one person or two people or whatever, and it's like, okay, I'm walking down the hallway with this person. I don't know for sure that they're guilty, but do I want to be alone with them? Also, do I want to let them out of my sight? Like making that moment to moment tactical decision, like, hey, I'm going to keep an eye on you, and deciding if that's going to put you in a good position to determine that they're innocent, or leave you vulnerable if they decide to go for an easy target.
Yeah. We played a really weird map too. There's 3 different maps, and the one that we played, I think, was either the first or second map. And the unique feature about it is all the vents are connected if you're an imposter.
Okay.
So you can go from any part of the map to any other, which that maybe sounds cool, but it's actually not. I don't know. The map's just not as well laid out.
Right.
And then there's like a weird part about it too, where the reactor is kind of up in one corner, and so if somebody calls reactor, like everyone has to immediately like march through this decontamination chamber to get there.
Right.
And so everyone's kind of on this like very narrow tunnel to get to.
It's like a bottleneck kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I really like that game. It holds up. I was over the weekend. I was watching streamers. 2 of the developers were playing with some streamers on Twitch, and they were talking about the thing being an inspiration for the game when they were pitching the game originally.
The movie thing.
Yeah. So I thought that was a very satisfying comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think when you drink more, I personally just shoot more, where it's like, let's just start voting people out.
Yeah, I don't care if I airlock you.
Yeah.
Oh.
So do you play I've not played it, but the commentary I've read around this is discussing the relative merits of whether or not you enable it telling you once you airlock whether someone was guilty or not.
Yeah, that's a big decision. Yeah, it only matters if there's 2 imposters. It doesn't matter if there's 1 imposter, right? Because if you throw out the imposter, the game's over. But yeah, usually you're supposed to play with it off. I think it makes it more interesting because if the town decides that you're going to vote one person off and they're gone, it's like, well, maybe they're imposter, maybe they weren't.
Yeah,
and it kind of adds more doubt. I think it's more fun when you do it that way.
Yeah.
Things can crumble a lot more when it tells you if it's the imposter or not. Like, for example, if someone is like backing them up and then you vote them off and they're an imposter, it's like, all right, well, we're going to vote that person off next. And
Yeah.
just go down the line.
Yeah, it seems like it would make the process of elimination easier. And certainty seems anathema to what is fun about that game.
Yeah. There was so I tried some bold plays. I think one I did before is it was down to 3 people, and it was me and the other 2, and one of them like had blatantly killed that reactor, and I was kind of like cleared, so they were like blaming one another. And so in a alpha move, I voted to skip so that we went to another round. And I said, I'm going to have one more task and I'm going to do it. And if so just stay away from whoever the killer is. And so I finished my task, but apparently one of the ghosts had one more task. And so we lost. It was sad. But yeah. There's some good gambling there. I also played this game the day after I played it with you. Some of my friends from Texas coincidentally wanted to start playing it. And so I had a lobby of like 6 people playing it for the first time. And so I was trying to like teach them the mechanics of like how to play it and like when you just need to hard accuse like another person, that sort of thing. And yeah. I want to play with you some more, Cole, because I want to see what you're like when you're the imposter too.
You want to know what it looks like?
Deal of stress.
Want to know what it looks like when I'm lying? Yeah,
yeah.
I was worried. I was because the imposter, there's more on your plate for that, and just I wonder if they're doing something to make sure that a first time player doesn't end up as imposter for a few games.
They're certainly not.
Okay.
Because there are many times where you get new people and you're like, hey, what task did you do? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I looked for prey. Damn it, that's not what I was supposed to say.
Yeah.
So, I would like to learn more. I would definitely like to play with you guys. And we can work that out. Is there like an in-game tutorial like that runs you through some stuff, or is there like a low stakes way to play and like get an idea of like what the flow is, or what's up?
Just play online with some like random people.
Yeah.
Dude, online matches are kind of garbage in my opinion. Like because there's no voice chat, and so it's just people using the chat, like the text chat or whatever that they have in game,
right?
And so basically what happens is one person will be like black sus and then like no evidence or anything like that because you're typing and so it's slow, and then that person will like accuse the other person and then you just vote out one of those random 2 people. It's like maybe that was right, I don't know. But anyway, like that'd give you a good experience to just walk around the map and like do tasks and stuff and figure out what it looks like. And you won't have the pressure of people like asking you questions and you have to verbally answer it. So
right. Yeah,
you can very easily just stay silent in an online game the entire time, and it's not a big deal.
It won't be conspicuous that you're being evasive.
Yeah.
What have you been playing, Ben? Other than Among Us with your butts?
Yeah, so I only got one game this week, but it's a new game that I had not heard about. Well, I had not heard that it had come out. The game is called Superliminal.
Okay.
We've talked about this game on the podcast. There's a demo for this where it's like the forced perspective thing, where it's like you pick up a chess piece and then you turn your field of view and you drop it, and it has changed size based on where the perspective of it is, though.
Okay.
So that game finally came out.
That was forever ago that we talked about that.
Yeah. Apparently they're still working on it, and it's a pretty short game. It's like maybe 4-6 hour game, something like that.
Okay.
And it's I guess 4 hours because I beat in 4 hours. And there's a commentary track on it too afterwards. So that part's nice. It's a very strange game. Like on the one hand, they did a good job of making the mechanic like narratively make sense. So the premise of the game is you're in a sleep testing facility. So you're basically asleep and dreaming in this land. And so within this dream, you can do all of these like weird things where you're picking up pieces and they change perspective and stuff. So that's kind of the path that they went down. And so like the entire thing is like dream reality, dream logic, that sort of thing. And that's how they can kind of get by with this. The part that's really strange though is that they try and pull off this like narrative to the game, but all the chapters of the game are like very disjointed tonally from one another, and like there's not like very strong like characters all the way through the game. So to just give you an example of this, like the first like chapter that you're in is like this is very similar to Portal. It is like very, very similar, where it's like you have like test chambers where you're doing stuff with the game mechanics. And then afterwards they consciously like pull away from this. And I think they said in the commentary that they did this because they wanted to like introduce that it was like dream logic and you're just kind of going from one thing to another. But it doesn't really, I don't know. In the end, it doesn't really feel good. It just feels very like disjointed. And I guess they talk more about this in the commentary too. There's another level where it's like a horror themed level, and in development they were literally trying to make it like a serialized type game where there's like different like DLC or whatever, and that they were literally trying to make like a horror game for one chapter with that mechanic. And their rationale was like, oh, it felt too good to throw out, so we decided to just keep it in the game. It's like, okay. And like, on the one hand, like some of the puzzles were good, but on the other hand, it's just like it would have been nice maybe if they kind of took another pass over like the narrative and tried to find a more like
cohesive approach.
Yeah, and like engaging story. Because there's like a character that's like a ripoff of like GLaDOS, where it's like a computer who's very rules oriented who talks to you from time to time, but it doesn't really it doesn't really like make as much sense as like GLaDOS does, and it's not as fully fleshed out, and so it's like, so that part's kind of all over the place. That said, like the majority of the puzzles are pretty good, and like the mechanics that they have, there's like maybe only like 4 or 5 different mechanics, but they're pretty well executed. It's not a bad puzzle game. Kind of like comparing it to recent things, it's not as like polished as like Manifold Garden, the game that I played like last week, and not as strong of a style as that. But the puzzle mechanics are still pretty good. Like you can play it end to end, and there's not like a lot of like poorly designed puzzles in it where you have to like go and look up the answer and that sort of thing, or it's like that are like poorly telegraphed or anything like that. By and large, a lot of the puzzles are like well designed and they're well telegraphed. So
nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty short game, but there's definitely some points that are pretty satisfying in it. So, I don't know, a good like 7 or 8 out of 10 for me on like an actual 7 or 8 out of 10 scale, not the normal video game scale. So
it sounds like a good hook at the very least.
Yeah. And like this would be like a pretty solid like streaming game too, because it's the length of a stream and it doesn't wear out its welcome, I guess, while you're playing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it. It pops up in my Steam suggestions from time to time.
Okay. I think it just came out within the last month.
Okay, yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's popped up recently, from time to time within the past period of time.
Gotcha.
Right.
Or so.
Yeah. But Superliminal.
Yeah. Weird one. Also on the commentary, they talked about there's one level that they said was inspired by the third act of Brazil, which made me go and watch the movie Brazil because I had not seen it all the way through.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Nice. What else you played?
That's all I got.
All right. Jala, how about you?
Okay, so I've been playing Resident Evil 5 co-op with Dave. I have been playing Sheva, and we are currently midway through Chapter 5, so we're almost done. But then, of course, we still intend to play the DLC, and that will be my first time actually playing the DLC for that game, because when I first played it, the DLC was not out. And then the second time I played through it, we just kind of got sick. It was me and Sam, and we just got sick of playing the game by that point.
Right, yeah.
And then anyway, so this time will be my first time to go through it. And it wasn't because of the waff about Resident Evil 5. It was because we had finished Resident Evil 6. We took a break from it to play Sniper Elite. And then, he had never played 5 either. So I was like, well, let's co-op that. So we've been doing that. And I upgraded all of my weapons, and I had enough money for the Gatling gun, but it's a Chris-only weapon, and as Sheva, I can't buy it and hand it to Chris. It's stuck in my storage.
Wait, I had no idea
If
that
you
there were
buy
Chris and Sheva only weapons.
there's not a Sheva only weapon that I
Oh.
can see. There's only a Chris weapon.
That's
And
bullshit.
he gets a Gatling gun with unlimited ammo, and you can buy it for
Okay.
50,000. And I happen to have the money, so I bought it, and I was like, "Oh, I can give this to Dave because I have all the high-powered weapons, and he doesn't. But if he has infinite ammo, who cares?"
Right.
So, but it does it because it's not a Sheva weapon. It's not that it, you can't even put it in your inventory. It just goes to your box and then just stays there, like grayed out because you're not Chris. So I would have to play through the game again on Chris, and then once I save up the money, then buy the gun.
Right.
So that sucks. We just reloaded that, so I didn't lose the money. I just reloaded it. We just, hard quit so it wouldn't save it, and then just went back in.
That's good.
So, I didn't lose out the money on that. But anyway, so that was a fun thing. And I was pissed because I was looking for a Sheva only weapon, and there was not one. So, Oh well.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is that when we were playing this game, I was like, they're really kind of relying on you to read all of the little like things they leave in the levels for you, because they even put them on the map. There's like a little icon that shows up on the map telling you where all the things to read are. And it was funny because Dave didn't want to read all of them. He was playing Chris, so I guess he was in the Chris I don't read anything Redfield mode.
That sounds like Chris.
Yeah, I punch things, I punch boulders, I don't read things. So that is literally something that I had said when I played it with Sam a while back. I was like, I don't read things, I'm Chris, because I was playing Chris at that playthrough.
Right.
But anyway, it was funny though, because when I was listening to the WAF that you guys did, it's like you're talking about all this storyline, and I'm like, oh, you mean there's a storyline to this game?
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Whoa,
it's substantial.
That's amazing.
Substantially more story heavy than I think that a lot of people give it credit for. Not entirely to its benefit. It's it's laden with lore.
Yeah, but like it seems to be mostly tied to the like a knowledge of all the rest of the series plus reading all of those little things throughout the levels, because like the first playthrough I went through, I actually did read those things, but I didn't remember anything. And so even as I played the game the first time and was actively trying to read them, I never picked up the storyline. So I've only had vague ideas about what this game is actually about in any real sense. So, like I really feel like playing Chris is probably my canon, because like I don't read anything. I don't really know what's going on. I just punch stuff. Like that's about where I'm at with this game. But
and I mean, 6 establishes that he doesn't remember any of it anyway.
That's true.
So.
He doesn't remember anything anyway. Whatever. But so yeah, but I think because when I played it with Sam, we had come directly from Resident Evil 6 back to 5, and that was a mistake because when I played that way, because 6 is so much more of an action game and it's not as like stopping to shoot and things, it's not as considered. It has more concessions to faster play. Going to 5 was really rough, but this time Dave and I stopped and played Sniper Elite before we went to this game, and that
so
was
you cleanse
fine.
your palate.
Yeah, well, because in Sniper Elite, most of the time, unless you are Jala throwing grenades and wreaking general havoc, you are considering your shots and taking your time and doing a little bit of that. Even if you have a mob, you're trying to focus your aim a little bit better. It's not like in 6 where it's just like you can just run in and melee everything. That was really beneficial, because when we went into 5, it was a lot smoother transition, because from my memories, I was like, oh man, this is going to be so rough trying to go back to 5. And it really wasn't, because I had played Sniper Elite, which, is a little bit more considered pacing. So I think he wants to go back and play Resident Evil 4 because he's never actually played the entire thing through. He's only played part of it. And I think what would be good for him is to finish out 5 and then go play like Sniper Elite 3 with me, because he hasn't played that one either. And then after he finishes that, then going into 4, because 4 is so considered of a pacing, and you really need to conserve ammo, and it's kind of more of a hybrid of survival horror mixed with action, and 5 and 6 are kind of like steps towards being more and more of an action game progressively. So
Yeah, I think you're right. Even if the jump from 5 to 4 would be less drastic than the jump from 6 to 5, it can't hurt to put a little bit of time, put a little bit of a time buffer in, just so you don't get sick of it.
well, and have that time buffer, not to, so that you don't get sick of it, but also to go back to a slower, more, considered pacing too, because I
Yes.
seem to remember 4 being a little bit more so. Like 5 had a little bit more concessions to smoother action elements, I think, than 4 did.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's neither here nor there. I am not going to be obviously playing that with him. He will be single playing that, but anyway, so that's one thing that we've been doing, and that means that I get to talk about the DLC, which I've never played, so that'll be fun when I get
One
there.
of them is good.
Yeah, I've heard that. So, and I think it's the second one that's the better one, right? Like you have to go through the first one, but the first one's not as good, or is it the other way around? I don't remember.
I don't think you have to go through either of them to play the other.
Okay.
The one that is like the flashback is good. The one that takes place during the actual events of the game is not as good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can look forward to me being mad about that one then when I get there. So,
it's not infuriatingly bad. It's just kind of more
kind of
Resident
meh.
Evil 5. Yeah, it's just real meh. It is like, if you're looking at the entire thing, like the bad one, like Desperate Escape or whatever it is, gives you more of what you already have in Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
The one that's a flashback, taking you to a very familiar location. Not only does it have good fan service in it, but it's a different kind of play than you get in the main body of the game. So,
and then Dave and I are both agreed that we would prefer to have Josh, the character Josh in Resident Evil 5, who was like Sheva's mentor or whatever, have him actually, because he's such a solid bro, like have him be
like
the
the only one who does anything in that game.
I mean, like he's a very good functional character, and I'm like, why don't we just have Josh and Sheva and just say hell with Chris? I mean,
yep, yeah, great, Chris, you're way too tied up in this emotionally.
Yeah,
and one of the DLCs you get to play as Josh, or one of the characters gets to play as Josh. It's Josh and Jill.
That's great. That makes me happy. I will be very excited about that. So
nice.
Okay. Well, any questions? Any questions about that old ass game that everybody's played? Nope. Okay. Good.
I don't have any.
Yeah. The only other thing I have played is a game called Headliner NoviNews. This is a 2018 political sim by Unbound Creations, where you control what articles are published at NoviNews, which is the main newspaper for the fictional, slightly sci-fi country of Novistan, which has more technological advances than we do, with like genetic modifications being normalized and synthetic alcohol being popular and things like that. So basically, this is the kind of game that would probably surprise you guys that I played, because I don't normally play any kind of simulator type thing at all. But I don't know why I ended up picking this one up. I'm probably a sale, and here I am. And
I'm curious.
Yeah. So basically, it's more or less a kind of polar. Like it's fairly straightforward. You have two kind of polarized stances, and you have to pick which way you want to go on them. And once you pick a stance, you need to be consistent with your voice if you want to have any kind of, effect in the world.
Right.
Because if you have a mixed message, then people don't know what to think, and they are less likely to trust that news source. So,
wow, so this game's already dated.
So the stances you can take as regarding certain key issues: nationalized versus privatized healthcare. Your love interest has a condition related to her genetic mods that requires expensive medicines, but nationalized healthcare increases wait times and decreases availability of medicine. So you screw her over if you do nationalized medicine. But when it's privatized, it gets to the point that if she doesn't get a promotion, like if you don't also support globalization because she's a foreign correspondent. She doesn't get a raise, and then she can't afford her medicine, and she dies anyway from that. So there's various ways in which everything goes wrong, and no matter what you do, something goes wrong. That's the point. So other things that you can do, promoting or demonizing the synthetic alcohol drink. Better Buzz is a key investor for your newspaper, but is showing increasingly adverse health effects, including there was like a demonstration by some political protesters who were all doped up on Better Buzz and then jumped off a building and killed themselves, like in front of you, like as you're walking home. So that's the thing that happens. You can also support that globalization, as I mentioned before, or stronger control by the current government. And of course, tied into that, supporting or demonizing the police. Depending upon what you pick, small family businesses are run out by larger foreign companies, and the police are, rioted against, and the police officer that you get to know ends up, in dire straits. Or the
he joins Dire Straits.
Yeah, Dire Straits indeed. Or like the family business owner of like the little C-store that you go to all the time is run out of business or whatever. Or xenophobia happens because you are supporting the current government and not trusting anybody else. And then you have a strict police state with like drones flying overhead and like police checks and stuff. So, like no matter what you choose, everything is always screwed anyway. There's definitely there's kind of a better playthrough. Like one of my playthroughs sucked balls, and the other one was at least not completely terrible. I think there's a way that you can play it and kind of sort of end up in kind of a middle ground where not that much terrible stuff happens. Anyway, all of these choices involve different people in your life. As I mentioned, your foreign correspondent love interest who has a disease linked to genetic modifications, your brother who has mental health issues and is trying to make it as a comedian who in certain run-throughs, he always has political humor. And so depending if you have a police state, he might be arrested, or if you don't, and he flops, then he tries to commit suicide. Anyway, there's a homeless person that you befriend on the street, and you either give money to him so he can, get a job or whatever, so he can buy clothes to get a job or buy food or whatever, or things like that. There's also, again, that police officer that you come across, the owner of the convenience store that you go to, all of that. Both government agents and freedom fighters try to persuade you to either enforce the current governmental control or unearth the truth of governmental corruption. So you have people threatening your life or, doing kind of shady stuff either way, no matter which way you go. Mechanically, it boils down to approving or rejecting stories that slide across your desk at work. Some days you can only approve a certain number, and others you have to pick one of two articles that are stapled together, and you have to pick which thing you're going to bring up to the public. Sometimes they are contrasting stances of the same topic. Sometimes they are disparate topics, and you just have to figure out which one you want to push a little bit more. You also interact with people important to your life as you go home from work every day. And as you walk home, you get to see what your decisions have done to Novistan. There might be riots, the political demonstration with people jumping off a building, angry homeless people, graffiti, drones. You can even incite an assassination that happens as you walk home from work.
Jeez.
That's rather well timed.
Yeah. It's meant to be played at least twice through, as you might imagine. So, like that's a whole, just so you can see at least two different sides to everything. Other aspects of the game, you can also furnish your apartment, adopt a homeless dog, and you can also adopt a drone. And the drone is very funny, so I recommend doing that. It says different stuff every time you come home from work. You can make decisions to assist your loved ones in hard decisions that they face. like help them make a decision for them, for their convenience store, for example, or help
Mhm.
your brother figure out what to do or whatever, or lend them money or things like that, depending upon what it is that they need. And depending on what you choose, your pay might be docked at work. For example, if you publish too many outsider submissions to the paper that are not official paper correspondence, or if you publish negative articles about the investor Better Buzz, that
Mhm.
affects your pay, which affects your ability to help anybody else that you know.
So a little bit like a Papers, Please kind of thing going on.
Yes, it's very.
So can you insider trade or whatever? Be like, give someone a hot tip and then make that happen?
No, not that I've seen in the game from the 2 playthroughs that I've done. There was one change that happened. Actually, there's a couple of things about the game. First off, like when you're going through the game, it kind of has a point where it steps back and is kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit, and is talking about like the decisions that you're making and things like that, and in a way that is, specifically to make you conscious that you are making decisions in a video game. And then on the second playthrough, it actually kind of helps you out because it gives you, at some point midway through the game, you get like a little meter that hangs out on your desk that tells you what public opinion currently is for all of the major topics. So
Okay.
it'll show how negative or how positive everybody views these particular subjects. So I'm betting that if I did a third playthrough, the thing that I would most likely do would be to try to keep it as close to the center as possible and see if I can keep a fairly calm, fairly calm kind of situation. I don't know if that's possible or if that just leads to yet another terrible ending because
Right.
there is no strong stance and no action is taken. I'm not sure.
And you're the editor-in-chief of this publication?
You're called the headliner. I don't know what.
Okay.
You are called the headliner, and that's what everybody refers to you as because you are the one who makes the decisions about what is published. So
is headliner Nova Stan's word for president?
No, there's a president.
Are they trying to spin this into a CBS show afterwards?
Well, there's apparently another, like this is not the first headliner game. There's more than one of these, and this is one of them. I did not know that these existed before, but I know there's at least one other game in the headliner, series, I guess.
Extended universe.
Yeah, extended universe. So in one playthrough, I uncovered the truth about the government and the prime minister was assassinated. My brother almost committed suicide, but I happened to save him in the nick of time. My love interest died due to the nationalized medicine, making shortages. And the mom and pop store went out of business, and the police officer I befriended quit and broke down with mental anguish. In another, I ended up creating a police state under heavy control. My brother rotted in jail because I couldn't afford to bail him out after he did some political jokes. And my love interest was fired and then lynched for being foreign. So,
good God,
it's a pleasant game, guys.
I mean, looking at the art style, it doesn't look like things that dark would happen.
Oh yes, it is very dark. It is quite dark. Actually, I forgot there was one more game that I played, but it's very brief. I don't know if you want me to talk about that. But first, do you have any questions about this game? Headliner news.
No, I don't. Like how similar is this to like a visual novel kind of deal? Because that's a little bit like what it presents as, but with more kind of choices with some meters attached to it.
Yeah, there's choices with meters attached to it. If you want to compare it to a visual novel, I would consider it to be kind of more like Danganronpa 2 because you're running around physically.
Gotcha.
Like a side-scrolling kind of thing, and you're talking to people and making some decisions and stuff like that. There aren't any trials or anything. You basically are playing a 2-week period. And at the end of those 2 weeks, you either fucked it up one way or you fucked it up the other way. I mean,
gotcha.
2 weeks, and that is all you need. So
that is really funny. Yeah, I don't have any other questions on top of that. Cool. I brought up Papers, Please, and I forgot the Papers, Please developer The game they put out before Papers, Please was called the Republia Times, which is a similar idea to this. It is an explicitly like Eastern European-esque country. It takes place in the same world as Papers, Please, and like you are either aiding or hindering a resistance movement by the stories that you pick.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I will say that some things that I do like are the ways in which it kind of plays with that animation where it is bright and happy looking, and then like when things go wrong and you see everything going wrong, it's pretty impactful with this art style because it's so colorful, I guess. And then sometimes when they do that fourth wall breaking kind of, writing in the clouds or whatever, I kind of really dig that element. A lot of times I don't, but for some reason it works really well in this game.
Nice.
So the last thing that I played was She Sees Red. And this is basically an interactive movie. It is a full motion video, and it is, I think, from Russia. But anyway, I basically picked it up because it's kind of another one of those murder mystery sorts of things in the vein of like a Poe and Monroe or whatever, something like that, except like your choices are boiled down to you watch the scenes and then there's two things that you have to pick and like a timer, and you have to pick one and then move on with life. Of course, it branches off a bunch of different ways because of that. So it's meant to be played through several times, but once you see a certain scene, you can skip the scenes that you've already watched. So that does speed it up a little bit anyway, but you do end up seeing certain scenes where there's a decision at the end of it, multiple times as you try to go through it. It doesn't take very long to run through. So like I would say on the entirety, I probably played it for 2 or 3 hours total. I can't really talk too much about it insofar as story is concerned, because that's the whole point, is you're trying to uncover the story of what's happening exactly. But basically there are some cops that have come to a club where a murder happened, and you are controlling someone who was just detained in the back, and you're trying to get out, and you killed one of the guards like right off the bat, and then you are trying to escape, and then you have to figure out what your character's motives are, who the hell he is in the first place, what's going on, like what's the history here, and what how everything ends. It all depends upon your decisions that you make through the game. So it's pretty light play. I played it on Switch just as something to relax at night, and I enjoyed it. But like it was just about as much time as I wanted to spend with it, like it didn't overstay its welcome, but that was about my limit, and I was done with it. So I didn't get 100% on the scenes because there was one choice where it wouldn't let me tap the opposite decision. It wouldn't let me do that for some reason, and I replayed that several times, and it wouldn't let me choose the other option. So there's a bug where you probably aren't going to be able to see it all if you play it on Switch, but I think it's also on Steam, so that would probably be the better way to play it.
Okay.
So
yeah, I see it listed on Steam explicitly as an interactive movie.
Yeah, it's an interactive movie. It's not very gameplay heavy. That's why I forgot I even played it, because it's mostly a movie and you sometimes tap something.
So I just heard, sorry, I stepped out for a moment. All I heard is interactive movie, you murdered someone and like running away from the cops. Are we talking about Indigo Prophecy?
No. She Sees Red.
Okay.
She Sees Red, yes.
Yes. So that's all I got. That's the other thing that I played.
Cool.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Jala, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
I asked, what is the best game-related gift you've ever received? It can be a system, a game, or a tchotchke. And I have a story about the word tchotchke.
Where's it come from? What is that?
So I had never even heard this word before in my life until I encountered more white people and talked to them. And in specific, I think it was Dennis that first said the word tchotchke, and it was on the show. But I think many of the people on the show have said it in the past. And so I had never heard it before. As you know, I live in the South, and also I am Cuban. I actually have a lot of people from a lot of international backgrounds as friends. So I think it's partially a regional thing, like probably Northeast. And then also, I think it's also a race thing, because I know people from the Northeast, but most of them are Black or Latino. And so, like I'd never heard anybody use this word until then. But the reason why this comes up is because in the Slack, somebody was like, oh, well, I had to go Google for like a minute and a half to figure out what that word was. And I was like, I was trying to be approachable and do like the word that all the people know. And I can't apparently use the word. And then there was like this whole thing where other people who are more familiar were like, oh, I think they meant this spelling of the word tchotchke.
Right,
and
right.
I'm like, I was using one that was in the dictionary that was the last one that I saw some other person use on Twitter. I don't know. I am not allowed to try to be relatable. I'm supposed to, I don't know. So anyway, that's my story about the word tchotchke, and I'm never going to use that word again.
I mean, so pause here.
Okay.
Everybody here on the chat knows what a tchotchke is, right? Small object, novelty, etc.
Knick-knack. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask, like, what is the word that you grew up using for that kind of thing when your parents didn't call that your shit?
Junk or knick-knack, usually.
Junk or knick-knack. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So knick-knack for you, David?
Probably junk.
Right.
But knick-knack would have been the
Yeah. Like a small object that is like you get at a place and you put it on a shelf.
Trinket?
Yeah, it sits on it. Yes, a trinket is also another.
Yeah,
good word
trinket. Although that was a little bit more formal. It was always knickknacks. Ben, how about you?
I don't think we ever had like a word for it, or we did at least did not use it in commonly. But yeah, knickknack scene is what I thought of as another definition.
My parents, my entire life, have never stopped giving me shit for keeping everything. I have a lot of things. I've held on to a lot of things even from my childhood, and I'm very happy that I did. But I've always gotten shit about clutter and pieces parts, and I can't believe you just clean your room. What's that?
Your stuff is all nice and organized. It's not like a shit show. It looks
fine. No, it's but still, it's something that I've been given shit for my entire life, and then when it was time for me to help my parents move, guess
that resentment was the other thing that you hadn't let go of either.
Guess when the reckoning came. Crack my knuckles. Oh yeah, I've been ready for this. Ooh, I've been training for this one for years.
How did your parents respond to it when they had a taste of it?
They're just like, Kole, it's hard. We're so stressed out. I was like, I don't give a shit. You're not the one who had to carry all those boxes, load up all the goddamn trucks, Mom.
I'm the other way around. I'm like constantly trying to get rid of stuff, and my parents are like, "Oh, are you sure you don't need this?"
Right.
By the way, is the podcast turning into therapy? I just need to know. I need to prepare separate things.
This is COVID podcast.
Right.
It just that flowed naturally.
Yeah.
But it's a good question. Tchotchkes, knickknacks, or systems and things. Let's get into some holiday memories here. Casey writes, Christmas 1998. My brother and I woke up to brand new Game Boys and Pokemon Red and Blue. I got Red because Charizard is the best. And that was also the moment I became a lifelong video game fan. That's nice.
Woo!
I cannot interrogate this question, but I would like to know: did they decide who got what, or did they leave it to you to decide?
Oh boy, that would have been a nightmare.
Dude, how great! Do the meta one, and you have like 3 Pokemons in front of them, and you ask them to pick one, and then you give the one that's better to like their rival.
Oh shit! You, my son, my oldest son, you get the first right. I'll take Bulbasaur. You have chosen poorly.
I love Bulbasaur.
No, that bit didn't work out because Bulbasaur is obviously the best one. But then to immediately
Wait,
go,
what?
yeah,
I love Bulbasaur.
I want to question. Wait, what's everyone's favorite Pokemon of the OG3?
The starters.
Yeah,
Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
Charizard.
Charizard isn't a starter.
Okay.
Sorry, Charmander.
Yeah. Okay.
I got a lot of rare candies, Cole. You don't know what I'm capable of.
David,
Geez.
what's yours?
Charmander.
He said it. I
Definitely.
was just very quiet.
I feel like that's. Oh, sorry. Am I coming in quiet?
No, it's fine. A lot of us were talking because we're having fun.
Okay. Yeah.
Everyone wanted to get it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jala,
No. I mean, I feel like I. There's only one correct answer to this.
Apparently not.
No.
Jala, what did you say yours was?
Now we need Dennis here as a tiebreaker to figure out who's the best Pokemon.
We do, yeah. I mean, like in Pokemon Red, like the fact that oh gosh, Bulbasaur evolves and eventually gets poison type moves, like psychic type will wreck your shit in Pokemon Red and Blue, like in that generation. So having anything poison helps.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You just get Charizard. You only fight with him. You don't get any other Pokemon in the game. And he just by himself will kill the entire gym.
No,
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Water type comes out. It doesn't matter.
The rarity of the Charizard card has led to a lot of people having very inflated opinions about how effective Charizard actually is.
Also, I like Burbs. Burbs are dinosaurs. Bulbasaur looks like a dinosaur. I know he's more of a frog, but he looks kind of like, and his name is Bulbasaur.
He's dino-esque.
He's a dino-ass.
Wait, you mean as opposed to the character that is literally a dinosaur?
Oh yeah, he is a dinosaur, but I like Bulbasaur better.
Yeah.
I also have a garden, and I like Burbs, and that's all.
I like how creepy Bulbasaur is. Just the fact that it's just an animal that has a plant growing out of the back of it.
Well,
Okay.
for sure. Okay. And like there is a pixel artist that I follow who does like a Halloween Bulbasaur that has a pumpkin on his back, and he's like, Halloween colored, and it's pretty awesome. I now I have to find it. I'll show you, don't worry.
Let's see, David, what does Greg say?
Greg says Christmas 1998. Oh no,
wait,
I'm sorry. My bad. Got my NES for Christmas of '87, and it wasn't expected at all. I'd already been a gaming kid. I was 11, but I didn't ask for it. Instead, I just mentioned a couple times during joint TV watching how fun the NES looked in commercials. I knew something was up when I found one wrapped gift Christmas morning that said, "Open me last." I ended up with the control deck with Super
Mario Brothers.
Oh, Super Mario Brothers. I'm sorry. And the side gift had Top Gun and Pinball. Either one of those are great games, but I have nostalgia for them due to the time I put into them. My parents said those were the only games in the store. Proof of how popular and sold out the NES and games were. My favorite period of gaming memories.
The NES pinball is actually pretty good. Just throwing that out there. So I mean, it's not one of the best games, but it's surprisingly good. Yeah. Let's see here, Ben. What does Nicholas say?
As a side note, I texted Dennis, so I'm awaiting his response as far as which is the best Pokemon of the three. Prediction, I bet he's going to say Squirtle so that we have no resolution on this.
No, so we can all beat up on him for picking the lame one.
All right, cool. All right, Nicholas J says, in the early 2010s, I was a big fan of Smash Bros. Webcomic Brawl in the Family. One particular comic involved a stuffed plushie of King DDD called a DD doll. That's cute. And it got so popular it was turned into an actual product fans could buy. Ooh. I received it as a gift from my partner at the time, and though the relationship is long over, I never let go of the DD doll, and he maintains a permanent residence on my bed, faded eye paint and all.
That just means he's well loved.
Indeed.
And there's a picture. It's a really good plush.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jala, you have shared a picture of Halloween Bulbasaur. That is very good. I like
Yes.
that quite a bit. And also
So are
the
nerves.
yeah. the little goofy ones. Little goofy pixel art perlers.
Guys, I will put this on my Twitter so people can find it in several days and then figure out that I'm talking about it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I love the King Dedede one because that's it's rare. That's not many of those were made. Precious objects are precious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jala, what does Tom say?
Tom says, so I love Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and my parents managed to find a set of 4 books on Beksinski, a chief inspiration.
It's a painter. It's all Betsinski.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotta be honest, it was one of my favorite gifts because of how niche and specific to me it was. I'm sitting here like, your parents know you really well.
That's a good gift. And those books about Beksinski are super rare. He's my favorite artist.
Okay.
I've got one, and I had to go through an awful lot I had to pay an awful lot at Barnes and Noble and get it shipped across the country, through 4 different stores to get a hold of the one that I got. So I'm curious what for our friend here got.
Yeah.
I'm putting in a painting in oh yeah, and Slack's gonna be dumb. Oh well. So but yeah, that's good. There we go. There's the JPEG. Beksinski does almost like H.R. Giger horror, hyper detailed, super atmospheric, surreal kind of stuff. If you've seen one, you would recognize them.
Yeah.
Let's see here. David writes, it's got to be the Christmas my brother and I got Game Boys with Pokemon Red and Blue. That story is pretty common, I'd suspect. Look at the first comment we got. But what I remember most is that neither of us knew that you could save the game. So we would play until we ran out of time and start over again the next time. We didn't figure out you could save until school started up again a week later. Boy, I bet you had that first hour down pat. Nice. Let's see, David, what does Lucas say?
Lucas says statuette of Draw in the bath. Absolutely incredible and proudly displayed on the end table next to our couch. He doubles as a convenient holder for keys, wallets, and other things.
Yeah, that's good. I was really happy when I would think of what's that, Nendoroid something made that? Just because that screenshot. I was a PC gamer that whenever they did a story about The Witcher, they always use that screenshot of Geralt in the bath. Good stuff. Let's see here. Ben, what does Tyler say?
Tyler says, I don't know if it's the best, but it's the most memorable. My great aunt and uncle live in Florida, and one of their good friends happened to live in the neighborhood behind mine and knew my parents. When I was a kid, my friend of my great aunt and uncle showed up at the house one day and was like, hey, I have a gift for you, and pulled out a purple Game Boy Color with Super Mario Bros. Deluxe in it. It turns out she had been down to visit my great aunt and uncle recently, and while she was there, their car was stolen. When the police found it, it was filled with stolen loot, as apparently the thieves had been using it to keep their spoils of all their escapades. She went with my great aunt and uncle to pick up their car, and they saw all the stolen loot and asked the police, do you know who all this belongs to? And the cops were like, nope, we have no clue. She saw the Game Boys sitting in the pile of loot and asked, do you mind if I take this? I know a little boy who would appreciate it if you don't know who the owners are. And the cops were just like, yeah, sure, take it.
Oh, they didn't feel like filing the paperwork. It's so good.
And I was that little boy, so that's how I got my first video game console. As a kid, I would look at the high scores on the game and daydream about them being the robbers' scores, but in reality, it was probably whatever person got robbed. Looking back, I have many questions about how the cops just gave away all this stolen loot. Ha but at least I have a fun story to tell? Question mark. Come to think of it, a lot of my handheld consoles, I got a lot of my handheld consoles in weird ways. I got my Game Boy Advance in a roundabout way because I won the Golden Yoshi sweepstakes at Burger King a few years later. But that's a story for another submission.
Oh, that's pretty great.
Tyler can just be like all of the submissions for this. not to trivialize anybody's. Everybody's got great answers so far, but
No, this
I'm
is
just
really
saying.
good.
I mean, like, apparently there's lots more stories to be had there.
Let's see here. Jala, what does Dave say?
Dave says, when I was a kid, I vividly remember receiving an NES for Christmas. And aside from the pack-in Super Mario Duck Hunt, I was also gifted Anticipation, which was hidden in a box of brownie mix. I was really excited to make brownies and found the game inside instead. While it was very cool, I'd wanted to make the brownies almost more than playing the new game.
Parents always try and get clever with that. Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, you give it to a little kid who's like, sugar?
Oh, just games. Okay.
It's just, I was really looking forward to some brownies. I mean, like, brownies were like the highlight of life when I was a small child.
Brownies are amazing.
Yeah.
Brownies are great. Yeah, no, I always keep a box of brownie mix around. You know, I never end up using it, but it's good to have.
Okay.
You're going to make an excellent grandparent one day.
Right?
Let's see here. Finally, here we have Rookie who says, a year or two ago, my wife overheard me listening to a podcast. I'm pretty sure it was y'all, where someone had gotten a shadow box of a video game cell from Art-O-Vision.
That was me.
Yeah. I said aloud that it sounded awesome. For my birthday, she got me this modified Zelda shadow box. Since I'm also a huge Star Wars fan, +1 to intersectional nerdery. It is a shadow box of the, it's dangerous to go alone, take this dungeon, except instead of Link, it's Luke. The old man is Obi-Wan. There are two R2 units on either side instead of the torches, and it is a lightsaber instead of a sword. That's really cute.
Yeah.
Those things rule. I love mine. I've got one that is big and elaborate, like this one of Maniac Mansion. It's Dave and Green Tentacle's bedroom. And I've got a smaller one of the Chrono Trigger bonfire scene. And Jala, yours is Symphony of the Night, you said?
Symphony of the Night. Dracula's quote, "What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets."
Is the
You have to say it that way. I mean,
oh, of course. There's no other way to say it.
No.
Does it have the wine glass flying in the air, or is it?
No, he's just sitting there at his throne with his head on his hand, and that's all. And like Richter's staring at him. But
I really hope so. Art-O-Vision 3D is the name of that company. They make very good stuff. I like. It's
good
some
quality.
of the coolest stuff. Because they primarily sell at conventions, I hope that the COVID has not been rough on them. Because I want to see, I want them to make more things, and I want to get a full size version of this Chrono Trigger shadow box.
they have a Rampage, and I want the Rampage one.
Yeah.
They have I'm looking at them now. They have so many Cuphead things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it's attractive art. Yeah. They've got ones from like pinball, like pinball backboard art kind of stuff. There's a cool one from Haunted House. Yeah, just like, I don't know. It's a really good idea, and it's all really high quality. Now that does sound like a commercial. They're not paying us. I like what they make an awful lot. And I see mine every day, but hearing that Rookie has a cool one and likes it and got it as a good, memorable gift, that's good to know too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's everybody. Mine will be real short. I believe it was, what happened? Yeah, the cats are doing something. Early 90s, I forget exactly what year it was. Maybe it was like 92, something like that. I got a Game Gear for Christmas. I was real excited about it. Game Gear is not a great system. The thing that I...
Does that work?
Hey, what are you doing?
Uh-oh.
Okay. She's sulking. Okay. She's going to do something. I don't know. I'm going to leave all that in. Alongside that, I also got like a Sonic the Hedgehog doll. It's like small and kind of ratty compared to like other Sonic dolls that I eventually got, but like it was my, beloved stuffed animal. but I like
You
carried
were a
around with
Sonic
me everywhere.
fan.
I was, yeah. I carried it with me everywhere, and like, you know, on vacation we would leave a hotel, and I would freak out because I thought that I left the Sonic doll back at the hotel, and we'd have to turn around and go back, and like, no, it turns out it's just in the bag, like that kind of thing. And I still have it to this day. It's a good Sonic doll, and it has a huge amount of sentimental value to me. And I still have the Game Gear, but I like having my beloved childhood toy more. Yeah.
Cool. And of course, you still have it, Cole.
Yes, of course I do. Let's see, David, how about you?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I remember when I got a Nintendo 64. I just remember like that was what I was hoping I was going to get. So I was like purposely open gifts in order of being like game box or Nintendo 64 sized boxes.
Okay.
And like finally did, open a game, and my parents are like, "Oh, we thought this was a Game Boy game. I guess we got you the wrong one."
Oh, jeez.
Because, my parents are dicks, but not really. I'm joking.
No. I have several similar stories.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the one I remember from that.
Very good. Ben, how about you?
The one that sticks out to me the most is when I got Donkey Kong Country 2 for SNES, I guess. Because I got it, like, I think Christmas Eve, we would always open up a few presents. And then I was the first person to wake up Christmas morning, and I was, like, all by myself, and I went to the living room and, like, started playing the first levels of that, where it's, like, the lava levels and stuff. And just remember being, like, so excited about playing that. So
nice. So, yeah, it just, I've, like, even though I wouldn't say, like, oh, the year I got the Dreamcast, like, still some of my favorite memories are, like, waking up early and being home on break and just having unlimited time to play these new things, with with family and stuff around. That's warm, fun memories. Yeah. Jala, how about you?
So this is a story in multiple parts. I'll make it brief. One year during Christmas, we had just a teeny tiny little, like, 4-foot tree that was sitting on a little table. And I opened up my gifts, and what I really wanted that year was a Sega Saturn because I love Lunar. I had a Sega CD. I read in the guidebook for that the remakes of the Lunar games was coming out. They were going to come out on the Sega Saturn. So I wanted a Sega Saturn really bad. As you know, it was prohibitively expensive when it first came out.
Yeah.
However, I opened up all my gifts, and there was no Sega Saturn among them, and I was slightly sad. But then my mom pulls out from underneath the table with the tablecloth another box, and it was a Sega Saturn. So I was so excited, and because I was aware of how much money it cost to even get that thing, that I was like running around screaming in the house, like all around everywhere, with this Sega Saturn in my hands, like vibrating basically. And then I went to go plug it in later after I finally calmed down and stopped screaming. And then I didn't have the right plug for the TV, and there was nothing open because it was Christmas. So I couldn't play anything, this was back in with like Sewer Shark or whatever, but like I couldn't play it right at first. So then we had to go like, the next day, the only thing open was a Radio Shack, and thankfully they had the right plug. Right. So I got it and I played, Sewer Shark, which, I was just like, what is this? Like what even is this game? Like I was just dumbfounded about this thing, and I don't think that I've ever got very far in that game. But anyway, dog meat. So that's fine and dandy. I eventually got other games for it and things like that. And I had a lot of fun, even with domestic titles, and eventually importing games with this Sega Saturn, which I still have to this day. But the clincher was, not only did I not get to play it on Christmas, but also the game that I wanted that was supposed to be coming to the Saturn did not come to the Saturn because Sega of America was so screwy. it ended up going to the PlayStation, and that was a different gift for another time.
Right.
I eventually got a PlayStation like years after it had come out to play the Lunar games.
It was a
and
couple
that was
years after that too. Like that wasn't until like 98 something.
yeah. So anyway, like I got a PlayStation eventually, and eventually I got the Lunar games when it came out on PlayStation, but I had the Sega Saturn that I couldn't play, and then it didn't even have the game that I wanted on it anyway. But like I did get the import versions of the game over time, and like import video games of different series that I like. And even had some domestic titles like Dragon Force and other Working Designs games that I played on that. So
Nice.
it was still fine. So
it all worked out.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, yeah, this was fun. This is a good topic. Thank you for putting that up, Jala.
Yay.
If you would like to participate... Oh, what's that? Good.
Thanks to the listeners for answering.
Yes, thank you for answering. If you would like to be like them and participate in this, you can go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons.
The end, boss.
And now it's time for the end, boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games that are exciting to us. Jala, what's happening with cheaters?
So, the University of Texas at Dallas developed a new detection strategy for cheaters in Counter-Strike, but this tech can be used for any MMO that sends data traffic to a central server. Cheating, of course, doesn't just ruin the fairness of the game, but it also has economic impacts when unhappy players leave that game because everybody's cheating. So it also affects esports, of course. There can result in sanctions against teams and players, disqualification, forfeiture of prizes, and things like that. Bans on participation, overall bad scene. So detecting cheating in MMOs is usually hard because the data that goes from the player's computer to the server is encrypted, and previous research has relied on decrypted game logs to detect cheating after the fact, which is not very useful
The damage
in
is
trying
done.
to prevent it. Yes. So UT Dallas approached this by eliminating the need for decrypted data and instead analyzing encrypted data to and from the server in real time.
Wow.
So for the study, students downloaded 3 cheats: an aimbot, a speed hack, and a wall hack that makes walls transparent. And the researchers set up a server dedicated to the project so they didn't disrupt other online players. They analyzed packets of data such as the number of incoming and outgoing packets, the size, the time they were transmitted, and the number of packets in a burst. And then they identified patterns that indicated cheating and trained a machine learning model to predict cheating based on patterns in game data. Part of the cheat detection mechanism involves sending the data to a GPU to make the process faster and taking the workload off the main server's central processing unit. The researchers plan to extend their work to create an approach for games that do not use a client-server architecture and to make the detection mechanism a little bit more secure. Because, of course, what's going to happen? People are going to try to hack it. So,
Of course.
Anyway, what they say in the article: after detection, we can give a warning and gracefully kick the player out if they continue to cheat during a fixed time interval. So they get a warning and then poop, off they go if they keep cheating, because that's no fun for anybody except the cheater. So
yeah, this is huge. And if this stops companies like Riot from needing to install, basically kernel level access programs in order to monitor you, all the better.
Yeah.
What's funny about that?
I just don't know. Like, you would be like, yeah, I should install this to play this game. That seems like a good trade-off.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Always dumb.
I'm curious about like how this will change over time too, right? Because like, I don't know, different games would probably send different things on the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would have to definitely be, fine-tuned for each different game that, used this kind of technology.
Yeah.
And it probably would have to almost be re-researched, to see what the flows of data look like. Because, again, like you point out, it would be a little bit different for each game depending upon how it's programmed.
Yeah.
So,
at the very least, retrained. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's still neat. It's still a good progress in a good direction anyway.
Very cool. Let's see here. Ben, what's going on with Phasmophobia?
So thanks to Jala for this story. She pointed out to me, and I had not heard about it.
I'm bitter.
They patched the game so that now ghosts can have more fun. When a player dies, normally in the game you get this like spooky blue map that you're on. It's like the regular map, but you're just dead, and you can like walk through your other teammates. You can. The only change is that you can see the ghost when you're in this like dead mode, and so you can see the ghost like walk around and stuff like that. But now they've patched it so that you can do more interacting with objects, so you can spook the human people and like throw books at them and stuff. And then additionally, it said that they're working on another map, another prison type level. So all of that seems cool.
God, if you can get revenge on the person who like let you down, yeah.
So I feel like the real question is, can the dead player freaking turn on the dang water tap for everyone else?
Yeah, that'd be nice, right? Trip the motion sensor for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm curious too. There's like I haven't played it yet since I just found out about this an hour or two ago. But I want to know if you can like open and close doors on people too. Would be interesting, or like if you can flip the light switch in places.
Yeah.
So
if as a ghost you get missions that will like give you money when you come back. Yeah.
You can't take it with you, but you can earn it afterwards and then come back to life.
Yeah, you can't take it with you, but you definitely can bring it back.
I also want to like rob the homeowner's blind mode. We just start looting the objects and throwing them back on your van,
which is like the actual thing that you would do if you set up a ghost hunting business, is just use it as a way to case joints.
Yeah, the ghost is really into pearls for some reason.
Leave them out. Yeah, and also we need a piece of personal information. Can you please write your PIN number on this whiteboard? It will summon them somehow. Yeah, probably a little transparent, but it's good that they're continuing to update that.
Yeah,
mine's short. I am salty. I definitely have some fear of missing out going on because I do not have a PlayStation 5. I've been trying very hard to get one so I can play the Demon's Souls remake. Looks cool. People are posting fun screenshots. Specifically, Allison on Twitter is doing some amazing stuff with photo mode. That is really good. One thing that has been a little bit of a bummer is that they changed the cat ring graphic in the original Demon's Souls. When you equipped the cat ring, which reduced fall damage, so you could, make certain drops that you couldn't before, the icon that it would put under your health bars and stuff, instead of being like a little hand-drawn icon or whatever, was just like a tiny little photograph of a black and white cat. It's literally just a photograph of somebody's cat, presumably on the team. And that's the kind of charming jank that you want, right? Like that is cool and good. When Blue Point Games, the people who are in charge of the remake, put the game together, they replaced the photorealistic cat with a little icon of a cat, side view. And, you don't take away joy like that. You don't take something beautiful away from people. However, people who beat the game did notice that the photorealistic cat does show up in the credits, so at the very least, it's still there. But I would like an option, please. Patch in an option. Let me get the tuxedo cat. I want to see the baby. Okay.
Let me see the baby and no one gets hurt.
Yep.
So the thing I'm disappointed about is they ruined the model for, what is it? It's like the obesity official or whatever.
Yeah, for the fat official, yeah.
Yeah, like all the rest of them I'm okay with, but that one I feel like they took away just like what made that character super creepy with just the huge grin.
I haven't seen that one. I've been cagey about looking at too much about it. Mostly like scenery and stuff, but I have not seen how they updated the fat official. It's a bummer that he doesn't have the big grin on. They had to change his mask. Yeah.
Yep.
And finally here, David, are you going to do the Victorian baby catapult, or are you going to do Blaseball?
Oh no, the Victorian baby catapult I just thought was hilarious.
Oh, the Victorian baby catalog was a different thing. No less horrifying.
Yeah,
but,
catapult.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening with Blaseball?
Yeah, so I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but this is mainly just a Blaseball as a thing. It's Sifi's magazine just declaring that Blaseball is the 2020's most relevant sporting event, which this is basically a online browser-based game where you can bet on the outcome of a baseball game. More a baseball-esque game.
Yeah.
And then the games run once an hour, and you get a text-based play-by-play. And can basically watch it and chat about it with other players, that sort of thing. However, things start getting weird because in the course of this game, you can have things happen like dark gods can appear and start manipulating the the laws of reality and in order to mess up the game, or if someone gets a foul, the umpire might just incinerate them. And it's basically the game is actually set in this kind of Welcome to Night Vale-esque horror setting.
It's like a new weird kind of thing, like a mixture like our world sci-fi fantasy horror thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things with that is you can actually all this money you're raising to via this betting, you can eventually use to influence the game. So one of the examples this article gives is you can buy a magical artifact that forces the other team to run around a mythical fifth base in order to get a run.
Okay.
Just things like that.
Yeah.
But then where the game has really taken off is the fact that, there's only tenuously this backstory that's basically revealed via, some of the weird in-game events, and then the semi-randomly generated character names, and then finally the names of the teams.
And the names of the teams are very good.
Right. So you've got the Baltimore Crabs.
The Crabs is my favorite one, but you get things like oh gosh, the Philly Pies, the Dallas Steaks, the Chicago Firefighters, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's just weird stuff, but the fans have taken to writing elaborate backstories for all of the characters, and even doing sports commentary podcasts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who run the game have then taken to actually kind of canonizing these various events and basically incorporating them into the lore.
Yeah.
So, for example, there was one instance where a popular character player was killed, and so the characters or the fan base elected to, through this kind of interaction back and forth shared story, ultimately, venture into the afterlife and return him that character to life. But unfortunately, he returned as this vengeful revenant whose quote curveballs caused the death of 12 players.
Okay.
So it's just the whole thing is just it started off the rails and it only goes farther off from there.
Yeah, but it's like a collective like role playing and fiction project at this point that has a simulation backing. I'm irritated because once Blaseball got popular and I didn't know anything about it, and I got annoyed seeing all of the talk about it on Twitter, so I muted it. I vowed that I would never learn a thing about Blaseball. I would just be ignorant and irritated, and that would be fine. But now I know now I know what Blaseball is, and I feel like I've failed. You've ruined me, David.
Yeah, I feel like luckily the concept of your life being ruined by forbidden knowledge is entirely within the wheelhouse of Blaseball.
Fair enough.
Welcome home, Kole.
Yeah. Oh geez. Oh gosh, the sorry, the team slogan for the Hades Tigers is "Never Look Back." That's actually really good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you for that Blaseball explainer. Nobody else had been able to convey it. So that's
the type of hard-hitting journalism you get on the level.
Cool. Well, that sounds like a show to me. How do you guys feel about buttoning it up?
I feel buttons and squeaks.
The credit.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of The Level. We really appreciate you. 350. That's a milestone, guys. Sorry to say guys. I'm saying guys in the plural and also thoughtlessly. But that's a big number of episodes to do. No plans to discontinue. In fact, as I alluded to earlier, there are going to be some like back end changes. Basically, if you get any premium stuff from Duckfeed, we are rolling out basically a Patreon integration with our CMS with Fireside. So what this means is instead of getting like one gigantic Omni feed that you get, like you will be able to subscribe to individual shows. And you won't even have to have like a separate show for the level or for like the early release version. It will just come to you on the regular feed as you go. So look forward to that for everything being just a little bit more simple for you to find the content that you want. It's not going to change too much. Watch Patreon for like a little explainer video that I'll put up once I get it all rolled out. It'll be over the next couple of weeks, but I feel comfortable announcing it because I have just been given access to the Patreon integration for testing from the developer today.
Yay!
Yeah. Otherwise, though, the things you can do, like support us on that Patreon, or follow us on Facebook, or tell your friends about us, or leave a rating or review on iTunes. Honestly, the possibilities are limitless, or, they're pretty limited. But is there anything I'm forgetting?
No.
Okay. I've been Kole Ross. You can watch me stream on Friday and Saturday nights on twitch.tv/Duckfeed.tv.
I've been David Mysmith. You can watch me stream when my co-hosts drag me onto Phasmophobia.
Or Among Us.
Or Among Us.
I guess so. I don't have that game yet. My name is Jala-chan in places. When I'm not Jala-chan, I have a link to wherever else I am that is not Jala-chan. But most places I'm Jala-chan. The end.
And I'm Ben Merkel, and I'll be on Twitch when we play Among Us.
Okay.
Whatever that is.
And stick around for some titles. Who's got titles?
I've got
you.
one.
Okay, Jala.
Okay, good. Okay. I've got one that might be a title, and then two more that are too long to be titles.
Okay.
So maybe they could be workshopped. I'm not sure. So, Go Talk to Cincinnati.
Okay.
Is the podcast turning into therapy?
Good.
And You Can't Take It With You, but you can definitely bring it back.
I have that as You Can't Take It With You, but you can bring it back.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that as well.
Okay.
And then I had 2 short ones and one probably too long, but I had Too Many X's, Laden with Lore,
Okay.
and Until I Had Acquired More White People.
I didn't catch that. That's funny. Okay. Ben, what you got?
I just said, how bad? Bad how?
What was that in reference to?
We both asked, me and Cole asked that about
Watch Dog
That one.
Legion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ben asked how bad, and I asked bad how.
Nice.
Yeah. How do you guys feel? So the one that gets the votes is you can't take it with you. How do you guys feel about ... but you can bring it back?
That works.
That'll work.
Yeah.
the white people got the biggest laugh.
I don't know how
sure did.
I don't know how comfortable I am with that about acquiring people by race.
Yeah. that's a bit.
But it's white people.
Oh, I know.
It's white people. It's okay. No, I just related to that sort of. I just found out that the new Wonder Girl is going to be a Latina, so it's going to actually be a Latina superhero. I'm like, okay, I definitely am going to cosplay that. Sometime.
Of course. Nice.
Yes.
So I have a dumb story I wanted to tell, but it's a off the air story.
Okay.
But,
Well, I'll take us off the air.